Good evening. My name is Krishna Vemuri, and welcome back to another show of Spotlight. Today's Spotlight, we have a distinguished guest by name Rogersen Gupta. Rogersen Gupta is a thought leader, multidisciplinary strategist, and serial entrepreneur and C-suite advisor. He has advised and taken US elected officials to India on groundbreaking trips, as well as active in 2004, 2008, 2012 presidential campaigns, and former trustee of the Senate Campaign Committee. Roger also advises individuals with bespoke and holistic approach, as well as entrepreneurs with startups by creating 21st century property business models with social impact, even in these COVID times. He has had AAA experience, means having grown up in Asia, Africa, and America, to share his various intercontinental perspectives along with travels, friends from every continent. He has mentored, coached several individuals and business entities over the past 30 years. His current project, Park Place Fine Arts, is based on universal equity, a new concept, a new way to build generational wealth through investing in fine arts. For example, helping young families learn how to finance their children, college education, medical, law school costs by using appreciation, leverage, and investing techniques in the fine arts marketplace. And we have here with us. Good evening, Mr. Sen Gupta. How are you?
Good evening, Krishna, and thank you so much for having me. I wanted to acknowledge your chairman, Shadar, for his vision and staying the course of a great leader, and your program at Mana TV and the TV5 group. You're doing a great job. Thank you for your leadership in really being one of the pivotal communicators in our whole tri-state area and globally. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And today, see, you have a lot of experience with people on either side of these parties. This election, everybody is saying that it's pivotal to their career, their America's future vision. Either party say so. As a neutral person, I would like your opinion on why this election is important to the people of America and, for that matter, people of the world.
Well, let me start by laying a very simple foundation. The stronger the foundation of consciousness, the better the decision one can make. Every individual has their own perspective, particularly in the campaign side. When an elected official and a politician, there is a difference between the two. I call a politician when they're campaigning, an elected official when they hold office. When you're campaigning, excuse me, and when you're in this cycle of getting the vote out, typically from a statistical point of view and a decision-making point of view, at the very core, there are three important points for every voter to consider, the three most important things to them. So we have to look at this in a very organic way. What are the three most important things to me of value to my family, to myself, versus you? So that is the thing that I want to really start talking about. I want every individual to think what the three most important things are to them. And then, I've been involved in political campaigns and understanding the due process, because democracy is a participatory process. You can only engage if you vote. And if you don't vote, then you're not in the system. Now, having said that, one of the fundamental important things, and this is a great job that your TV station is doing, and I want to applaud that, is to get the vote out. When we first started out, when I started getting involved in politics, and my family in the early 70s to really late 80s when it matured under Reagan, and we had one of the first Indian appointees, Dr. Vomick, as a public health commissioner. The biggest thing is we would go around and they said, you as an Indian group back in the late 80s, early 90s, our voter turnout was very low. So the first thing I request all of your viewers who are registered voters, if they have not voted, vote your conscience. Vote the three most important things in your community first and foremost. Whether you live in a town or in a city, you have the hierarchy: local elected officials, county elected officials, state officials, and of course, national. There is an alignment, but vote your conscience. And then you have to do you're thinking for yourself. Don't let anybody influence you. If you have children, maybe your public school system is important. If you're a doctor, you might look at certain state laws and malpractice insurance. If you're an attorney, you have a perspective. If you're in a simple worker of working in a restaurant, the food business, if you're own a grocery store. But the key is really to vote. And I think what would be a good measure, Krishna, is to challenge all your viewers to have some sort of a metrics of how many people have voted. Let's really challenge in a beautiful way, in an inviting way. Can the Indian diaspora, the Indians who are registered voters, US citizens, whether it's on a state basis or a national basis, can we benchmark and say that the Indians this year in this most pivotal election had an increase? Whatever it is, 10%, 20%, 30%, that would be a good measure, because until you engage, you really don't know. And so that's my first and foremost step-by-step request to your viewers. So please vote your conscience if you haven't done it. Thank you.
You have seen like what happened is most of the Indians, they get their 150K, 250K salary, and then they live here happily and comfortably. And then they have some money to spare and then send back to their parents. And then they're happy in their own way. What problems they should look at? Because see, in a year, if they get the salary, they're happy irrespective of what the problems this country is facing and what problems this country would face. That is the reason most of the people are not actively participating probably. That is why you may have asked the question, okay, how many people are voting versus how many people are not voting. They wouldn't want to go out and then choose a party over the other, or vote rather, not even party, what is best for them. They are unable to choose or they don't want to choose. How do you advise people to change this perspective and then at least choose a party, or what is good for them if not party, and which party's ideals are, which party can maybe possibly get better things for their kids in future?
Well, we have to use some metaphors and paradigm, right? So think of yourself as the president, whoever the leader is, sitting in the front of the plane, and we are sitting in the passenger side. Each one of us has a different perspective. But let me highlight a couple reflect on a couple of points that you said. One of the reasons that India has been transformative in its economic growth through liberalization from the late 70s, 80s, up and down 90s, has been also the foreign remittance of NRIs sending, foreign currency. And it has, over time, over the last 30 years, 40 years, significant contribution to GDP. So we cannot, we have to acknowledge that. We have roots in our motherland. We have that, our connection, whatever that is, and one's born an Indian, always an Indian. We have, citizenship, dual citizenship, NRI, this and that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. But here's the thing, right? Depending on where you are, let's say you've been here for, give me an example and I can comment on it. So let's say somebody is be here for 20 years, got married, and let's say they're in their middle 30s, or early 40s. They have young children. They want to groom them. So they want to, and one of the things that we are blessed with from our Indian culture is how important education is. Right? We believe in education, we leverage education, right? The other important thing, which most Americans don't know, and that has saved India during the banking crisis, is we inherently, as a culture, as a consciousness, we are fiscally more responsible, right? Indians have a higher saving rate, statistically highest, in a sense, worldwide. I mean, if people were talking about what saved India in the 2008, 2012, because we had a very high saving rate. So one of the questions I also feel, at least with the friends that I have, we have a high savings rate, right? We want to build that nest egg. But let me give you an example. Like, we have to look at the entire life cycle, from cradle to cradle, because life is truly measured by the number of breaths you take. And that's from the Gita. Life is always measured by the breaths you take. So if you have a child, you're a father, then later on you become a grandfather, right? And let's say you are collecting Social Security, and you have some hiccup with the system. I mean, now with COVID is different. If you don't engage with your elected official to expedite your inquiry or have that relationship, you could be stuck in piles of paper. So one of the things I moved from New York City to a small town now, and I'm very engaged with the small town. We were instrumental in moving from Manhattan to this small town because we had a business. We employed almost 400 Indians. Mm-hmm. And then what we did was we started improving the school system. We took a school system which was basically more focused on sports, not on academia. And it just took 1-2 parents to change the game, to bring in higher credentials. So you have to look at building your own pond. So education, any situation you have with government, whether it's a state level with your property taxes, Social Security, you must respect the office elected person holds. In your local councilman, your local town, then your congressman is national. But I am talking about do the very best you can in the community that you live in. That's real social impact. If you have an issue, if you don't have a traffic light, you need it, talk to your local elected. This is the advocacy. This is the sort of leaning in, and you have to be socially indulgent.
I understand that. Okay, thank you for the views. I have been observing one more thing among the Indian folks is that, okay, if I ask them, some people, they are okay to say, I'm aligned towards a party, Republican Party, I vote up and down the ticket of Republican Party, whatever it is. They don't have any other things to say except for, okay, my ideals are with Republican Party, I'm voting. And some other people say, okay, I'm aligned towards Democratic Party, irrespective of whoever is standing. I don't mind voting up and down the ticket. Fine, that is perfectly fine. The percentage of the people are very, very less. But what's happening is most of the people, in fact, I have spoken to quite a few of them. They said, no, the current president is not good. I don't want to vote for a Republican Party. And at the same time, they also say the same thing about the Democratic Party. The candidate is not good either. See, I tell them, like, you have certain things within you, like maybe you are a conservative or a liberal or whatever it is. And then there are only 2 parties existing, and 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in this country. It's very difficult to come, or it's very difficult for you to start another party. Only thing is you have to size your needs to a party, or you have to, your need means that's how you have to choose a party looking into whatever approximately matches are the candidate. Then when I say about the party, no, this party is like this, that party is like that. Fine. Then candidate. I don't have much information about the candidate. Why you do not have much information? The other thing they say is the moment I browse for Trump on Facebook or whatever it is, they are serving me Trump things, few things. If I search something on Biden, they are serving me a lot of Biden things. So which one should I believe? This is the dilemma that they have currently. So how do you advise people to act, the people who are not decided to act in this context, Roger?
Thank you, Krishna, for that question. It is a complex question. And each individual, again, going back to what are the 3 most important things for that individual? And then depending on that person's engagement in society and occupation, a very simple question, regardless who is president, if somebody is in whatever, whether it's in New York City or a small town in New Jersey, Connecticut, how much does that president impact their lives, day-to-day lives, their livelihood? Are they on a national level? Are they on a state level? Or are they just happy staying at home? There's no judgment. The thing that we really have to dig deeper, I think, you have to do your homework. As a buyer beware. We get in it, let's face it, our Indian marriages, right? Our arranged marriages, right? We come from a spiritual consciousness. Our mother or a father might pick our bride. Because how do they do that? Is it instinct? Is it gut? Or do you have, referrals from generations? Here's the thing. How an individual makes a decision has to be informed, not with a biased perspective. Who is the best CEO for the job? Who is the best commander-in-chief for the job? Who is the best CFO? What kind of team? And I think what it is, you have to inspect what you expect. There is a lot of bias. There's no middle ground. But I have a different perspective. America is a complete capitalistic society. It's unregulated. If you're smart enough with the right team, you can really do well. Doesn't matter. You can, even I go to Jersey City, the Panwallers are doing very well. You can own one Dunkin' Donuts to 5 Dunkin' Donuts. America is the land of prosperity. You have to work hard. This is also country. If you have, and I don't know what the ground rule is. My ground rule is if you have come to this country and you're here more than 5 years, you do not know the English language. I think that is making a statement, and you are limiting yourself. So that's one example. If you don't know how to drive and you're living in the suburbs where you need a car and you're dependent, why do you want to make yourself a handicap? But the question is, how do you make a decision, right? Are you looking, now obviously in COVID times, it's very different. But we all have, when you meet a person, a friend, a new friend, we are blessed with our own instincts. The human eye through the body can look at body language. Do I like this person or not? That's from your gut. Then examine the 3 details. If you say, okay, education is important for me, retirement is important for me, and business taxes are important for me. That's the construct. And then you see which candidate is going to help you. And is that candidate really going to have a direct impact on you? If you're on a national level, federal taxes, yes. If you're on a local level with the school system, then look into your local category of elected official. But I think the bigger picture, Krishna, is no matter what happens, right? I think most people, I would even venture to say, I would hope anywhere from 70 to 90% people have made up their minds. Because the people who have not, I don't know what that percentage is. In the old days, it used to be a certain percentage who made up their minds the last 72 hours. But the bigger picture is we are going to have a result. Whether we have it on election night or whenever there is, when it's certified, then there's the electoral college, because we have seen twice with popular vote shift and electoral college. Do people understand how the electoral college works? I mean, some people who are smart enough see the influence of electoral college, and quite frankly, they move to that state to make a difference, to have an impact. So America allows to have sort of clever, boxes of thinking. But I think the bigger picture, to bring this whole community together, my perspective, for me, for my attitude is, as life is measured with every single breath we take, whatever it is, have the consciousness, have the openness to accept the results. If they're certified, they're validated, you don't have a choice. That's the beauty of a democracy, and we can argue the statement, majority rules or minority rights. Today, it could be minority rules with majority rights, or in hybrid. We are a divided country, agreed. But doesn't mean we stop breathing, stop living. Even in these COVID times, we have children, we have families, even you're by yourself, you have to work to sustain yourself.
Go ahead.
No, so the whole thing is, I want people to start conditioning themselves that, a few days from now on Tuesday night, whenever the results come, accept it. Accept your new president of America, and also engage. Your engagement does not stop when the election day is over. You can engage every day. You can go to the inaugural, you can choose not to go. Engage with your local elected official. Until you're active, you don't know. You have to show up. Part of life's success is showing up every day. Even in COVID times, you can show up electronically.
That is precisely what one point you told is very, very important. I want our viewers to think about it. Even after the elections, you keep engaging yourself. That is not what we are doing. I mean, that's not what we are doing right now. So possibly everybody should keep engaging with their local, state or national officials in some or other way, so that they will know, at least for the next election. Again, I hinge on my previous point, but with a different example, Roger. If you tune Fox News channel, let's say COVID. Okay, Trump has done very well in COVID. Then let us take the New York State. Governor has done very badly, and then the mayor has done even bad. So that is the order in which Fox says. And if you turn on CNN and other channels, Trump has done very bad. Okay, governor has done very good. And then in fact, de Blasio has done very good. So this is the order in which they say. Okay. For me here, I feel at times the president is as weak as he is strong. In some acts, he is very, very strong. In some acts, when it comes to local governance and then even more local governments to the mayor cities and things like that, even more weaker. So in these circumstances, again, the same advice. How do you want the people to react in the COVID case?
So, I had a very interesting reflection that I had shared with you. So we have to go to history of knowing what works, what does not work. We have to try. America is that innovation, even in government. When we had 9/11, George Bush, with his council of advisors, his cabinet, created a new cabinet position of Homeland Security, right? Now, today, we have the judicial side, the Supreme Court, we have Congress with the Senate and the House, and then the executive branch. I feel no matter who wins, since the country is divided and we have so many socioeconomic classes, I would propose to the new president, whoever it is, with acceptance, Mr. President, it's time now to have a relook at the cabinet. I would say for every group of stakeholders, even though that's the job of the Congress, the executive branch now should have two secretaries, or maybe three, for each socioeconomic level, the working class, the middle class, and the upper class. So the president in his daily briefing gets another perspective and not tied up in the politics of the Congress. So if you look at some of the advocacies that have happened, that any president, it's really how you get into the president's year. Because the president, no matter who it is in a bubble. I mean, if you look at the history of America, especially in the last 40, 50 years, it's divided. So all I'm suggesting is that there are so many stakeholders. America was founded as a corporation with our founding father. It was a company. It was a corporation. This way I look at it. Today, the board of governors that holds America today is different. The stakeholders are different. But do we have the representation, the ear of the president? Because the president is coming from a very protected bubble. And once you get into the White House, you're protected by so many levels of information and bureaucracy. But there are people who can directly engage with the president. Imagine in the daily briefing, just like you have all the secretaries, whether there's intelligence, economic, there was an advisor for the middle class. There was an advisor for the working class. And that would be direct. And I think with digital technology in the White House as a web portal, so we have to have some sort of pivot in this communication. Congress could be blocked out depending on party affiliation. At the end of the day, we have to get the job done. We have to look at our values, look at our three most important things, and live life to the fullest in this great country.
I came to an end of the session. We have 2 more minutes, sir. What I want you is how, because you have dealt with different Senate committees and then a lot of people, how you make the Indian community represent their problems and issues to the national legislative bodies.
Well, one of the most effective things, the old-fashioned way, write a letter. Write a letter, on nice stationery with blue. I am very particular in the old-fashioned, sincere way of communication. I remember one of the first times I went to, the thing switched, went to a meeting with an official, and I came home and I wrote a nice letter to the elected official. And 2 days later, the elected official called me and says, Mr. Sen Gupta, it's so refreshing to get a handwritten note. As long as you're sincere, less is also more. I would encourage every single person who is a voter, registered voter, citizen, write to your members of Congress, your local ones, write to your mayor, engage in that kind of communication, get known, show up if you wish to. You cannot hide behind at home and be, as we can, say in the football terms, be playing a quarterback on the sofa. Engage. You have to lean in. You have to lean in, or be part of a team that can lean. If you cannot do it, be part of a team. Be part of a team. We all show up to our temples. Again, democracy is a participated process. You need to know your elected officials for what you need, for what you want, what you wish for.
Okay. Thank you, Roger. Thanks for your time. And then I really enjoyed speaking to you. So I hope my audience also have enjoyed. Okay. And
Thank you
your
so
final
much.
remarks, 10 seconds, maybe if you want to say something.
Yes, let's welcome a significant increase in voter turnout from the Indian American community. That I think will be the best present, pre-Diwali present to all of us. And in advance, happy Diwali all. Please go and vote your consciousness for the richness of your legacy and the Indian heritage. Thank you.